Jeffrey Epstein negotiated the fucking contract to move the CIA's proprietary airliner, Southern Air Transport, which was busted running drugs and guns during Iran-Contra.
Epstein had a way of sexually compromising people. Is that what Melinda was warning you about?
No. I mean, no, I had dinner with him, and that's all.
Here's the reality, folks. Even after politicians voted to release the unredacted files, we were still only given pieces of the story. What's insane is that more than 100 pages related to the grand jury investigation were fully redacted. It's the same investigation where Epstein was handed the plea deal of the century.
Epstein allegedly abused dozens of minors at his homes in Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida. He enlisted girls to recruit other minors to his trafficking ring, and prosecutors said they seized scores of photos of full or partially nude girls. At the time, he could have faced life in prison for allegations with underage girls, but the prosecutor in the case, Alex Acosta, now President Trump's labor secretary, struck a more lenient deal. Epstein served just 13 months in a county jail for those charges.
You can see why those pages matter. They would show just how rotten the system really is. But that's why they won't be released. They simply reveal too much. The DOJ has already made it clear they'll redact whatever they want.
But those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal Democratic people in those files.
I think they visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
Got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently.
We all know why they're doing it. It's to protect some of the most powerful and most evil people in this country. To hide intelligence networks that have relied on blackmail to control these men for decades.
It's that simple.
Why do you think he is working so hard not to get them released for so many months? What do you think the real reason is?
These files implicate billionaires and friends of his and political donors that he's trying to protect. And Epstein also had close ties to our own intelligence agencies and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why there's so much effort in trying to stop this. And I do believe they'll try to stop it somewhere else. And that's going to backfire on them too.
Jeffrey Epstein negotiated the contract to move the CIA's proprietary airliner, Southern Air Transport, which was busted running drugs and guns during Iran-Contra. He personally was the authorized signatory on the deal with Southern Air Transport to move it to a military base in Columbus, Ohio, to service the limited. Hey, any of you guys got any bright ideas about how you would go about in 1994 convincing the Central Intelligence Agency to move its proprietary CIA airline used for covert operations based in Miami to up and move its entire operation to fucking Columbus, Ohio, just to service your personal company instead of the CIA? What do you think, he cold called the CIA? You think he just schmoozed the CIA? Or is it because he was handling out on Khashoggi's money during Iran-Contra that purchased the guns that Southern Air Transport a decade earlier was moving?
Now, we did get some files, and even in these redacted versions, people like Bill Gates and Bill Clinton look guilty as hell. A while ago, Bill Gates claimed his relationship with Epstein was strictly business.
As I go about trying to raise money for global health, which, every extra $1,000 we raise for that cause saves one life. And so we are extremely resource limited. We can buy more bed nets, we can buy more vaccines. In that case, I made a mistaken judgment that I thought that those discussions would lead literally to billions of dollars going to global health. Turned out that was a bad judgment. That was a mirage. None of that money ever appeared. And I gave him some benefit by the association.
Epstein had a way of sexually compromising people. Is that what Melinda was warning you about?
No. I mean, no, I had dinner with him, and that's all.
But then you see him standing next to multiple women whose faces are blacked out. And under the law, the DOJ is only allowed to conceal the identities of victims. So if those women are victims, Bill Gates looks far more guilty than anyone wants to admit. I guess we can see why his wife was in such a hurry to leave him.
It's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you made that clear to him?
I made that clear to him.
And it gets even darker with Clinton. His photos are even worse. There was even a disc labeled Clinton Far East. And no, Epstein wasn't making a mixtape for his buddy. That disc most likely had even worse evidence against our former president, but we won't know since they never released the contents of that disc. But at this point, it's hard to deny that Bill Clinton was completely compromised. And that just shows how deep the Epstein rabbit hole really goes. Of course, Bill could have apologized for these actions, but his spokesperson released this statement instead.
These files for months, only to dump them late on a Friday to protect Bill Clinton. This is about shielding themselves from what comes next or from what they'll try to hide forever, so they can release as many grainy 20-plus-year-old photos as they want. But this isn't about Bill Clinton.
Any comments on the alleged allegations of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein? No.
Now, when you see how many powerful men were just living it up on Epstein's island, you have to ask why the FBI director made this claim under oath.
You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay.
People are now calling for his removal because if he lied to protect Epstein's clients, he cannot be trusted with any serious investigation. But I don't think they're going to remove Cash.
I thought nobody was above the law. Well, Adam E. Media just shared this tweet of Cash Patel literally lying under oath right to Senator Kennedy's face. Isn't that supposed to be a crime? FBI Director Cash Patel under oath. There is no credible information that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked minors. 40 minors gave sworn testimony that they've been trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't this be considered treason, perjury?
It's becoming clear that he's the fall guy. He's probably doing exactly what he was hired to do. And I think Pam Bondi is in the same position.
We're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. You know, there were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? And that's what the FBI had turned over to us. And so a source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York. Yeah. So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI.
They're all playing a game, and the goal is to keep us distracted for as long as possible. And so far, they're winning. Now, I want to end this video by talking about the strange power outage in San Francisco. Yeah, it looks creepy. It looks dystopian, but that's not even the real issue. What people really noticed during this outage was the absolute chaos caused by the Waymo vehicles.
gonna set this thing on fire if it doesn't move soon.
He's stuck.
These cars didn't just slow down, they were completely lost. With traffic signals down, the so-called smart system collapsed almost instantly. And this exposes something important. This autonomous ecosystem is way more fragile than they want us to believe. All it takes is one outage, one disruption, and suddenly an entire city turns into a liability. And don't forget, this is only the beginning. They're already talking about deploying AI-controlled robots to manage crime.
I think we may be able to give people, if somebody's committed crime, a more humane form of containment of future crime, which is if you say, like, you now get a free Optimus, and it's just going to follow you around and stop you from doing crime. But other than that, you get to do anything. It's just going to stop you from committing crime. That's really it. You don't have to put people in like prisons and stuff. It's pretty wild to think of the various of all the possibilities, but I think it's clearly the future.
So ask yourself this: what happens when those systems glitch? What happens when the power goes out, the network goes down, or the AI starts making decisions without context? That's the conversation they refuse to have. Instead, they're rushing to flood our streets and homes with more and more AI toys without ever proving they're even safe.
Well, Barbie maker Mattel is teaming up with OpenAI to create a new generation of artificial intelligence-powered toys and games. Company leaders say the first products could launch later this year, combining Mattel's iconic brands like Barbie and Hot Wheels with OpenAI's technology.